In this video, what we're going to be doing is merging Access and Excel. We're going to create an Access database, and we're going to connect an Excel worksheet to that database. So we can pull information from the database, we can save information from the database, and we can retrieve information from the database. Then when we close our Excel worksheet, that data will be stored inside of a relational database that can be used in any other application. It can be used online, and it's a portable database, as you know, with Access. Which brings me to the other idea behind this video. There's a few things I'm assuming in this video. First, I'm assuming you know what Access is. Not that you know how to use it, not that you're an expert at it, but you know what it is and you know how to open it up. The other thing I'm assuming is that you understand what Excel is. Again, you don't have to be an expert at it, but you do have to know what Excel is, you know, the worksheet. So I'm going to open up Excel, and we're going to go ahead and first start off with the Excel worksheet, and then we're going to open up Access and create our database tables. Nothing too fancy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to learn a little bit about VBA, and we're going to connect those things together. Let's get started. So here I am in Excel, and the first thing I really want to do before I do anything else is save this so that way it can use VBA. I do though first want to have my developer tab open, and if you don't see a developers tab here, it just means you haven't activated it. So let's look at how we can activate our developers tab. Anywhere on the ribbon, you can right click on an empty spot and go to customize ribbon. Once you go to customize ribbon, here on the right hand side you'll see a list of elements that are on the ribbon, and you'll see developer here, which will probably be unchecked. You're going to go ahead and check that, then click OK. Once you do that, you'll see that the developers tab is now active in your ribbon. When you click on that, you'll see all the groups that it currently has, is from Excel all the way to code, add-ins, and controls. We don't have to know about all of these things. We just need to have connection to the code area. All the other stuff we're not really going to be talking about right now. Now the second thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and save it. Even though I haven't done anything except for put the developers tab there, I just want to make sure I save it in the right spot, because we're actually creating a project. We're going to have an area where we're going to not only have this Excel worksheet, we're also going to have a database. So the first thing I really want to do is create the environment in which this is going to live. So I'm going to first create my folder where this is going to live. So here I am on the desktop, and you can put yours anywhere you want. I'm going to right click and create myself a new folder, and I'm going to call this Excel database. CONN for connection, and then I'm gonna just go ahead and finalize that. Now I'm gonna save this Excel book inside of there. So I'm gonna go here to File, Save, and then I'm going to go to Browse, and then I'm gonna find it on my desktop. I'm gonna name this Database Connection. Let me just call this tutorial. Now before I hit save, I got to make sure, in order for the code to actually work with this Excel worksheet, I have to save this as macro enabled. Alright, so then I go ahead and hit save, and now I'm ready. Now to ensure that the user knows what to do, I'm going to create some sort of crude interface here so it's clear as to how you're supposed to use my application here inside of Excel. So I'm going to go ahead here and highlight maybe A to M all the way over here, maybe a little bit more than that, and something like this. And I want to go ahead and change the background here, so I'm going to go here to Home. I'm going to go here to the bucket. And I can choose, let's say, like a color, a dark color, so we can see everything that's going to be on top of there. And because I may want to use some images, you know, to make it look pretty cool, I'm going to use some shapes. Before I do that, I'm going to go up in here into cell A1, and I'm going to type this list of names. Now, as you can see, I can't see that, it's pretty dark. I'm going to expand this out a little bit. So I can go ahead and change the color of the text inside of there to something where it's visible, and maybe make it bold or change the text itself to something that's cooler. I'm going to double click here inside of A and B so it can expand to the size of the content. And next I'm going to put a shape down here. Now don't worry about how this is going to work out. Just follow along with me. We're making the interface, and what we're going to do next is connect this to a database. So for right now we're on step 1 of creating our Excel worksheet. And now to add the shape. So I'm going to go here and add this shape. And I'm going to use this shape to actually store names. We're going to write the code inside it. Well, we're going to write the data inside the shape. So here I'm going to go to Insert, Illustrations, and Shapes here. And maybe I'll just get something like, yeah, something like a rounded rectangle maybe. And I'll just drag that out here. This is where all the names are going to go. And I can do something like this, so where, it kind of fits the look of my whole setup. Maybe I can use something else, but, that's completely up to you. Yeah, something like this might be good. All right, so that's where my names are going to go. Now I need the buttons that's going to access my database. And again, we're just adding shapes that we're going to add code to later. So I'm going to go here to Insert again. So here I'm going to go ahead and add another shape. And this is just going to be a button, so I can go ahead and choose something like this rectangle here. And I'm going to go ahead and drag that out over here. And I'm going to change the look of that. And I'm going to click on that button once and type in read. Now, I like this to be centered, so I'm going to select this shape here. I'm going to go back to home, and I'm going to go ahead in the align group and change all of this so it's centered, and maybe even make the text a little bit bigger. And maybe I can make this a bit more clear. Read database. And okay, so I'm going to bring this a little bit smaller so I can see both of those. And there we go. I have that button. I'm going to just duplicate this by hitting Control D. And I'm going to drag it down here. And then I'm going to change this to Write to Database. So this is where I'm going to write to... And I'm going to make, write to database is fine. And then I'm going to copy, I'm going to duplicate this again, Control D. And I'm going to bring this down here. And then I'm going to make one called delete from database. Or remove, whichever one you like. And finally, I want a button to where if there's something in here, I want to be able to clear it. So I'm going to make another button. Control D, drag that down, select all. I'm going to clear list. It won't clear it from the database, so maybe I should say clear list panel, something like that. Now, to make these look a little different, first of all, I'm going to select this one. I'm going to hold down Shift and select all of these here. Because what I want to do is I want to move all of these to a certain area. Secondly, what I want to do is I want to resize all of these. And thirdly, what I want to do is I want to align all of these. So now what I want to do is I want to go all the way over here to Format. Format tab. And in the Format tab, you'll see in the Arrange group, you'll see this Align group. So I want to go ahead and align this to the left first. Then I am going to distribute this vertically. And it's going to even out the spacing between all of these here. The next thing I do while they're all selected, I'm going to go ahead and add some of these presets that we have here to make them stand out a little bit more. And you can choose anything you like. I'm not going to choose anything that, I'm not going to, make it too crazy. Just something that makes it look interesting. Maybe just like a button. There we go. So something like that is fine. And on this one, I'm not sure if I really want this to have a, I guess I can put an effect on this. So I can go down here and I'm going to go to bevel and I'm going to make this kind of like that. Perfect. I do have to keep a few things in mind though. When I read, that's one thing, but when I write, I'm going to write something to the database. So I know it's going to be names. So I'm going to go here to the E cell here. And I'm going to make this one look a little different because this is where the information is going to be. So I'm going to make it look like an entry point. So I'm going to change the color to this to something where it's obvious that this is where you're going to put your information. And this is an important point that, that I'm doing here. The important point is that your users, whenever you're making an interface, your users have to almost know what to do just by looking at it. You don't want them to have to figure things out, and you don't want them to have to read like an entire sentence or a paragraph to figure out what they're supposed to do. So I'm trying to make this as user-friendly without going too far. So by keeping this one here, I can go above here and say enter name below to write. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and select the cell and change the text there and maybe even bold that, and then I'm going to center it actually. So now enter the name below to write. The other thing I want to do is I'm going to select these cells. So I'm selecting about the width of this button. I'm selecting this bottom cell, I'm dragging it up here, and then I'm going all the way across over here. Once I do that, I want to actually change the border of all of this. And I go here to the fonts group, and I can go here to the border, and I can make a thick border around that by selecting this right here. As you can see, now I have this border here. Now, delete from is pretty much the same as the write to. So I have to write in what I want to delete. So because that's the case, I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to hit Control C to copy this area. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it down here and Control V to paste it there. So now all I need to do is change this enter name below to delete. Okay, so now I have this area here, and I'm going to highlight this area again and go here to create that around there. And this is obvious, you know, clear the list, and this is going to be reading. But these two are the ones that actually need some sort of input. And actually, we got one more thing that we need to do. Because we're going to be using, not necessarily this so much, we're going to be using this shape right here. We need to actually name this shape. And the way we name shapes inside of Excel is basically through the panel. And this is what throws a lot of people off sometimes. They're looking for this tab. They're looking for this tab. I don't see it. I don't see it. Well, it's because Excel is context sensitive, meaning you have to select the shape first, and then you will see the tab that it uses. So you notice how I have the shape selected. And now you see this format tab here. If I deselect the shape and just select anywhere else, you'll notice that format tab is gone. I just need you to remember that when we're dealing with shapes and things we're adding inside of Excel, PowerPoint, Word, a lot of times you have to understand that things like shapes and pictures, they have a special menu that pops up when you click it. So first I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to Format, and now I can find the area that I want to use to be able to, you know, name this thing. So I'm going to go over here to the selection pane, and then you're going to see another area kind of open up here. And you'll see all the shapes that I have here. Now the reason why I'm naming this shape is because we want to be able to later add code that uses that shape. So that's why we're naming that shape. So basically, after selecting the selection pane, I'm going to go down here to the rectangle round corner. And just to be clear, I know it's this one because when I select on the shape, you'll notice that that's the one that highlights. For instance, let's say if I select on this one here, you'll notice this is the one that highlights. So that's how I can tell which one in the selection pane that I'm dealing with. I can also select it in here And I can see that this highlights. So it's vice versa. You can do it here or here, but you want to verify which one it is so you can make sure that you are selecting the proper one. As a matter of fact, it's always a good idea to name all these shapes anyway. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to first go ahead and name this one. This is a button, and I'm going to name this. I'm going to use a coding convention here. BTN, which stands for button, and I'm going to say read DB. So BTN read DB for database. BTN stands for button. I'm going to go here to the right, and I'm going to go here and name this BTN write DB. And go here to delete. BTN delete. And then the clear. BTN clear. So we have our write, we have our read, we have our write, we have our delete, and we have our clear. Now I'm going to go ahead and name this. Now this is not going to be a button. This is a list. So I'm going to say LST for list, and it's going to be a list of names. So LST names. So LST stands for list name. So I know what I'm dealing with here. So now that it's named, and now that we have our interface ready, we're ready to go ahead and go to Access and create our quick one table database that we're going to be using in here. This video is going a little bit too long, so I'm going to stop it here, and I'll see you guys in the next video.